Hey guys, so today's recipe is going to be for this spicy chicken egg fried rice. My mom used to make this all the time and I never thought that I'd be able to make it like her, but she taught me while we were filming this. So for this recipe you'll need some eggs, a bell pepper, it can be of any colour, green or red chillies, spring onions, ginger, coriander, sweet corn, mushrooms, peas and carrots, garlic, babycorn. For the spices you'll need coarse black pepper, red chili flakes, some chicken seasoning, this is optional, salt, soya sauce, rice, and of course your chicken breast. First, just wash your spring onions, cut off any of the dead parts and slice them all the way to the bottom. Finally, we're using something different rather than our normal brown or red onions. Spring onions are a key ingredient on for this recipe, so try and get your hands on them if you can. Next, heat your oil. We're going to be using at least 3 big spoonfuls of oil for this. As I always say with rice, we use more oil. Once the oil is warm, add in your spring onions and allow these to soften slightly. While the spring onions are frying, you can slice up your garlic cloves. It does seem like a lot of garlic, but don't worry at all, it's not going to be too overpowering. Once your spring onions have softened and have slightly changed colour, you can add in the garlic cloves and allow these to fry for about 2 to 3 minutes until soft. Once your garlic is starting to brown, you can add in your spices. So I'm adding 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt. We'll taste the salt later, but it's always best to add less rather than more. I'm also adding 2 teaspoons of red chili flakes and 2 teaspoons of black pepper. I'm going to mix this for about 30 seconds before adding in my chicken because we don't want the spices to stick or burn. I've cut the chicken up into this size pieces. I would recommend cutting them almost like this. You can cut them a tiny bit smaller if you prefer, but this is a good size to do. We're now going to fry our chicken for about 7 to 8 minutes before adding in our first bit of veg. You really need to make sure that you're not drying out your chicken for this recipe. You want the chicken to remain moist. Next, we're going to prepare each vegetable in accordance with how long it takes to cook. So I'm cutting the baby corn up first. I would recommend adding in 2 packets of baby corn, like double the amount of this. We just didn't have any more at home. Also, any veg that you don't like, feel free to not add it and add anything that you prefer. So I'm adding in the baby corn now. You can see that the chicken's gone a nice goldeny colour. I've also julienned quite a bit of ginger. It looks like a lot, but honestly it's really important to use a nice amount of ginger. It gives a lot of freshness to the rice. I'm also slicing up a bell pepper. I would recommend using a red one if you can, as it gives the rice some sweetness and some colour. Next, I'm slicing my green chillies. I'm using around 6 or 7 here, but again it is up to preference and sort of your spice tolerance. If you're a typical Pakistani, then I would recommend just using the same as what I do. Add in your ginger, your pepper and your chillies. Give this a good stir. Leave it for another 5 minutes before adding in your peas as well as your sweet corn. These vegetables take a lot less time to cook than the baby corn and the peppers, so we're adding them next. The last veg that we're going to add is going to be our mushrooms. Mushrooms don't take long at all to cook, so we're going to add them in and cook for another max 5 to 6 minutes because we don't want to dry out our mushrooms. We're next going to add in about 3 glugs of soya sauce. If you've got some chicken seasoning at home, you can add this in as well, but it is completely optional. Once both the veg and the chicken are completely cooked, you can add in your boiled rice. For the rice, you boil it as usual until completely cooked. I like to add the rice in bits to ensure that each grain of rice is really getting the flavour in. Just really mix this up properly until the rice almost all changes to a nice brownish colour, as you can see here. Once stirred, you can prepare your eggs. So whisk up your eggs as you would do for an omelette. Just ensure that they're properly whisked. To this, add in salt and pepper, the same amount you would add in an omelette. I usually do 1 pinch of salt per egg. Whisk this up and we're ready to go. What you have to do now is create a space in your pan and ensure that your gas, the flame, is only heating that part of the pan as I've done here. To that gap, we're going to add a slight bit of oil, and then we're going to add in our egg in small amounts. So we're going to do it part by part, as you'll see now. So I'm adding in around that much egg and allowing this to fully scramble and cook as so. When it's completely cooked and it looks almost like a scrambled egg, you can clear that space up and bring the egg up to the top. We're going to do the same thing again, so add a bit of oil, add a little bit more of the egg once the oil is hot, and we're going to scramble it until really well cooked, as you can see here. Again, move that bit of egg to inside the rice and keep doing this process until all of your egg is completely cooked. Once all the egg is at the top like so, we can stir this up to make sure that there's egg in all parts. Lastly, we're going to add in a whole load of fresh green coriander. Just going to add it to the top and once again give it a good stir. Stirring this is really annoying, but this recipe is just so fresh and so good. I really want you guys to try this because I wouldn't say it's very Pakistani, but I don't know what cuisine it is. I don't know how you describe it, but I feel like it's kind of a fusion food. And always remember, minus out any veg that you don't like, add in any extra veg that you think is going to work, and just enjoy.